Welcome back to CryptosRUs. I'm George. We're all George. So, today is looking good once again. The US market is looking green, and so is Bitcoin and crypto. Bitcoin is still steadily climbing upwards, but a lot of crypto is in full rally mode right now. So, it's looking pretty darn good. But the main thing is there is another MicroStrategy that's coming. One that's possibly even bigger, and they're prepping for a major multi-billion-dollar purchase of Bitcoin. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about everything else that's going on today. All right. Let's do it, guys. Let's do it. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are starting out today with Bitcoin above $94,000. We are at 94.3 roughly. So a little bit higher than yesterday. We are now above that trend line I was talking about yesterday. We have broken above it, and now we are utilizing it as a support, which... it's early, but that's very good. That's what we want to see. And this is a trend line that we established since, the turnaround in September of last year. That was the quantitative easing that started when Fed Chair Powell did that 50 basis point cut back in September. That is when this started, right? And now we're a little bit above it. That's good. But today, you know what? We could see more of that. We are seeing market open very green. Dow plus 900, NASDAQ plus 600. There is a Fed, what is it called? Beige book that's coming out around 2 p.m. Eastern. So let's go talk about some of the things behind closed doors. I don't know if that's going to sway things or not. I don't think so, but just to point that out, there is something like that that's coming out later today that unless something behind the scenes is really, really nasty that gets leaked out, I don't know what could really turn the markets around today. People are just hopeful, okay, about a lot of things that, all the scary things that has happened over the last few months are coming to an end. It's really that simple. Okay, people were afraid that Trump really wanted to fire Powell, even though it seems like everyone hates Powell and wants him to be gone. But there are a lot that think that he's actually doing a good job and knows what he's doing. And if we get rid of him, things are going to get worse. In fact, because Trump says he's not going to fire him, the 10-year yield actually started coming back down, which is what we really want. So that goes to show you that people don't want Powell to be fired. Okay. Bassett also has come out and said, hey, a lot of these trade negotiations are happening. There will be a de-escalation in this trade war with China. Even though he's a little backtracking, even though he said China's going to give in, we have all the cards. China doesn't have anything. And now he's like, he's realizing China's not really backing down. He's like, there will be de-escalation. And honestly, that's what everyone wants. No one wants to see these 200% tariffs back and forth. That's not going to be good for anyone, right? But markets are liking what they're hearing about that too. And also markets are liking the fact that Elon is not going to be spending too much time with Doge going forward. In May, he's going to slow down his involvement significantly, and that is pumping Tesla stock like crazy. Even though their earnings yesterday was absolutely horrendous, it did not matter. People just wanted to hear that he was going to dissociate himself away from Doge. So that's the reason why markets are doing better. You know, there's light at the end of the tunnel. Okay, and when that's, you know, that's all you need. You just need to have hope, right? People just want to see some kind of end to all the nastiness. That's really what it comes down to. If there's no end at all, then that's when you just have continuous sell-off day after day after day. But now there's some kind of hope, right? So that's good. The 10-year yield is dropping. That's what we want to see. We want to see this drop as much as possible. The DXY, the dollar's already dropping, which is good. The next thing we'll want to see is the Fed cut the Fed fund rate. And after that starts cutting, then we have the trifecta, and that's like the perfect storm of goodness, I guess, for America and for investments, especially for crypto. So it's building up to that. It's building up. Speaking of Elon, people did note that Tesla did not sell their Bitcoin, even though they did not do well last quarter. They are not selling their Bitcoin. They are still the 5th largest corporate holder of Bitcoin. And if they didn't sell 3/4 of their Bitcoin from back in the day, they would be like at number 2 or something. They had an enormous amount before, and they sold it due to one reason or another, but still, whatever they held on is still making it like the 5th largest. So I guess that's good. That's good. And like I expected, yesterday's ETF inflow was tremendous. Almost $1 billion. The day before was close to 400 million. Yesterday was 912 million. So again, I told you guys, there's a lot of money on the sidelines just waiting to enter. People just want to FOMO. That's the bottom line, okay? Most people out there do not want to buy at the bottom. Most people don't want to buy and DCA while things are going down. That's the honest truth. No matter, even if they know that's a smart move, even if I stream 5 times a day and tell them to do that, they won't do that. They want to see a reversal. They want to see something that's causing the market to go up first before they put their money in, right? That's why FOMO is a real thing. So that's why it's happening. You're seeing a lot of money come back into the markets, and they'll probably continue as we recover. As we recover more, you're going to see a lot more money flow back into the ETFs. We lost billions upon billions in the last few months, and we're going to see billions upon billions upon billions upon billions come back in, right? And that's going to drive things back to where we were and far beyond. Yeah. That's what's going to happen. And right now, because Bitcoin is coming back up and because all the major tech companies of the world have fallen so much in their market cap, Bitcoin is now number 5. If you're looking at just total market cap, Bitcoin is now the 5th largest asset in the world, behind NVIDIA. So Bitcoin used to be at like number 10, number 8. It has climbed up to number 5 simply because Alphabet, Amazon, others have fallen so much. And we're not far off from NVIDIA, Microsoft, and Apple. But we are far off, very far off still from gold. If we are to catch up to gold, man, Bitcoin, you know, has to be like $1 million each, over $1 million each to be equal to gold's market cap. So we got a long ways to go. One day, Bitcoin will equal gold's market cap of $22 trillion. That shows you how much potential we still have. People that think Bitcoin is too large already, that there's not enough room to make money, right? There's no way that it could go up significantly any more from here. That they're just wrong. And that's just equaling the market cap of gold. That doesn't mean that Bitcoin just stops there. As more and more nations, as more and more people and companies and funds and everyone else starts FOMOing, because Bitcoin is like limited real estate, like prime real estate, and there's only so much. As more and more people FOMO into it, the market cap will keep on growing. So gold is like kind of the first stop. After that, I don't know what it's going to catch up to. I don't know. Real estate market is like 100 trillion or something. That's just the beginning. There's no limit. There's no upper limit to the market cap of Bitcoin. There really isn't. I mean, in 20, 30, 40 years, Bitcoin could be $10 million, $20 million each. We will see. We will see. A lot of us will be around to see that. All right. So, biggest Bitcoin liquidation in 2025, bear market ended. Well, we never were in a bear market. Okay, this is just exaggeration. We were coming down. We had a correction. You could say we had a consolidation point. Yes, we had some big liquidations as well, right? But hey, we're getting past it. We had some big short liquidations too over the last few days. It's not just one way. So, and there's actually a very interesting chart I want to show you guys about that. Okay, about how liquidations, well, I'll just get to it. But we were never in a bear market. People that are calling, oh, we entered a bear market, that's just silliness. We're still in the bull market. Just go back to all previous bull markets. They weren't straight up like this, okay? There were a lot of choppiness. A lot. Every bull run. I mean, even the one in 2021, we went from 64,000 down to 28,000. I mean, that's more than a 50% drop before going back up to 69,000. That was just the last bull run. Imagine falling more than 50% and recovering. We did not do that, right? That would mean we would fall down to like 40-something thousand before recovering back up. Yeah, so we didn't do that. Okay, so here's something that's really, really, really big. The main story that I think can't be overlooked. And that's this. Microstrategy 2.0, the next one. And this is being launched by some enormous names, okay? Cantor Fitzgerald, and you got Tether, and SoftBank. These three giants, and Tether is a giant now, okay? These three are going to create a company, and that company's sole purpose is to accumulate Bitcoin. They decided that MicroStrategy is too good. Sailor strategy works, and they want to mimic it. Okay, so they're creating a company where the sole purpose, forget the business intelligence or anything else, the sole purpose of this company is to acquire Bitcoin and raise debt and acquire Bitcoin. The same strategy that Michael Saylor is doing. Imagine that. And Saylor himself with MicroStrategy is was a relatively small publicly traded company. It still is, arguably. It's under 100 million market cap. Or 100 billion. No, 100 million. 100 billion. What is MicroStrategy's? Getting confused here. 100 billion. 100 billion, yeah. Which is not that small now, but it was. Back in the day, it was like 10 billion, 15 billion, which was relatively small. But down they are not. But Cantor Fitzgerald is absolutely huge. SoftBank is enormous. And Tether makes tens of billions of dollars in profit every quarter now. Okay. So these three guys, if they create a MicroStrategy 2.0, they could acquire Bitcoin at a much faster rate than even MicroStrategy. And MicroStrategy already, Saylor holds over 530,000 Bitcoin. And most of that was like the last 6 months. It was most of his last 6 months. So these guys, if they were going to play catch up, they catch up really quick. So this is absolutely huge. And again, this is one of the reasons why Bitcoin will reach the market cap of gold and will surpass it eventually. I'm not saying right away, because we have so many that are now essentially FOMOing. Okay, retail had it right. Satoshi had it right. All the retail people that got in early and still are in it or getting in had it right. Now the institutions, they're FOMOing it. They realized that, hey, we missed out on this trend. Now we're not going to be missing out, and they are playing catch up. However, they have endless money. So when they play catch up, they come in hard and they buy enormous amount. And the way we profit is just accumulate as much as we can, and we go along for the ride. That's really it. And this ride is going to be quite tremendous. Quite tremendous. All right, so this is interesting. So this relates to that funding, that liquidation thing I was talking about. This is talking about funding rates on Binance. So if you're looking at this, there's been a couple of times over the last few years where the funding rates were really, really, really low. Basically, people weren't playing leverage at these times. When the funding rate is really low, basically it means that it's a really scary time or very volatile time, and most people just stop playing leverage. It could be because they were all liquidated or some reason. And if you look at this trader, this guy basically pointed out that the last two times this happened, October 16, 2023, was when Bitcoin was at 28,000, and it shot up to 73,000. And the time after that, it was when Bitcoin was 57,000 and went up to 108,000. And right now is one of those times. Our funding rate was extremely, extremely low, basically near zero or below zero. And if we're mimicking those two times, that means we have found that bottom or consolidated long enough, and now we are in for a ride. We are definitely in for a ride to the next level, the next peak, so to speak, right? And those last two times were quite tremendous. So where are we going to end up this time? Well, there's a lot of predictions. If you look at the MVRV score, which measures the top of every cycle, you could see how we are nowhere near the top. So we got a lot of room to grow, okay? A lot. We're nowhere close to top. And you could argue 2021, we didn't even hit top either because we were prematurely cut short. Number one, China kicked out all the miners. Number two, we had FTX and Sam Bankman-Fried doing a lot of shenanigans. And number three, the Fed decided to announce a lot of rate hikes ahead of time, those three things really kind of upset the tail end of the 2021 cycle. Otherwise, I truly believe in 2021 we would have surpassed 100,000. But nevertheless, you could see we're just nowhere close to it. We're nowhere close to it. So that means our high is still coming up, way, way higher than where we are now. If you're looking at this chart, we are basically back to where we started back right around March timeframe. So you could argue it's not really a V-shaped recovery. I don't know, it looks like a W-shaped recovery. Basically all the scariness, almost all of it from, not all of it, but you know, all the stuff from the tariffs and everything. Basically what Tom Lee described as the deleveraging from the funds and everything. That's when they started selling off all their Bitcoin and the ETF started selling off. We basically recover back up to that point, right? So we're not too far off from the previous highs. Like we're not far off from 100,000. We're really not that far off from previous highs. So once we get back up there, the next level, well, according to Fibonacci, should be 131,000. Okay, so that's the next level, but that's not the top. That's not the top. The top is still far beyond that. But if we get back to 109,000, which could be in short order since everyone is FOMOing back in now. After that, the next level 131,000, and after that, it's anyone's guess. We still have many, many, many months left in this year, and who knows, we may go beyond, this cycle may go beyond 2025 and extend it in 2026, and who knows, maybe this cycle becomes a permanent cycle where we never go to crypto winter ever again. We have corrections. We have maybe even extended consolidation periods, but we may never experience a crypto winter again after this time. I just have a hard time saying that with all these guys, if this new MicroStrategy 2 comes out and then Sailor and the ETFs and everyone holding such enormous amounts of Bitcoin, I have a hard time seeing that we're going to have crypto winter going forward. I just don't see all of them dumping like previously. For us to go down 80% going forward, I have a really hard time seeing that. But we will see. I guess never say never. All right, last few things. The landscape, obviously, for crypto in the U.S. is changing. Paul Atkins, got sworn in. I don't know if he got sworn in, but he did a press conference yesterday. All these companies are hiring like crazy. Tether is hiring 165 people. Coinbase, 146. Crypto.com, 105. Binance, 96. Things are heating up like crazy. And speaking of heating up, you look at some of these alts, not just Bitcoin, even from a technical standpoint, they finally started moving and there's some life into them, and some of them have moved quite a lot. Some of you guys may have noticed that Sui started going bonkers since yesterday, and according to some analysts, they have broken out, and next stop could be 317. And this person is saying that by the end of this month, Sui could get back to one of their previous levels of 330. That would be a crazy move from where they were at just like $2, $2.10, going back all the way to 330. So that would be crazy. And same thing, all these other everything else, Avax, right? A trader is saying that, hey, Avax is looking good from a chart perspective. If it could break a certain level, hey, it could get back to $25 really easily. I mean, you're looking at, you're looking at a lot of movement. XRP, the same thing. You're looking at a charts. They're all looking good now, right? But fundamentally, all these projects I've been covering, how there's so much going on for all these guys. But even from a technical standpoint, all these analysts are charting all these guys, and they're all coming back to life, which is good, which is really good. We want to see some momentum come back. They've been so oversold over the last few months. So it's really good to see some of them come back. All right. That's pretty much it. Dow is still climbing up. Plus 1,000. Microstrategy barely clinging on. Amazon is going up like crazy. Tesla coming back. Did GameStop ever buy that Bitcoin, the 1.4 billion? I didn't hear anything about that. I don't know if they're waiting or they actually bought. Yeah. And let's not forget, I covered news about there's a possibility of the US selling off their gold reserve to buy Bitcoin with it too, or using some of the tariff money to buy Bitcoin. That's straight from their mouth. This is not like people making up this. Like Bo Hines, one of their strategic advisors from the White House, they're saying this. Who knows if that's going to happen, but if it does, it's going to be tremendous. All right, let's do some Q&A. Man, I can't believe that Sui is at 295 now. They have within days they went from 210 to 295. That's crazy. That's crazy. And their base camp is coming up. Solana had a good movement too. Now back to 150. XRP actually surprisingly has not moved more than I thought they would. I thought they would be back to like 250 by now, but 225 ain't bad. I mean, they were down to like 207, you know, $2-ish, but I thought they would move a little more. Thoughts on Render and Injective for bull run? I think they're both good. Render is a good AI play and a D-pin play. Injective overall is a good L1. So I think they're good. Nothing wrong with them. All right. Those of you guys that are saying Bitcoin is crashing hard, you need to stop it. Okay. I should put you in a timeout for saying that. I will say, a lot of you guys are degens. And there's one meme coin that caught my eye. And it's one that people have talked a lot about before and relates to AI, but they've been going crazy. I've noticed that Turbo has been in full turbo mode. that's just crazy. I don't know what it is with them, but I was just randomly looking at memes, and every meme did well, but it seems like just Turbo just is not stopping. I don't know what it is with them. I guess maybe they're on Coinbase now. Maybe they're so oversold, everyone's trying to FOMO back in, but it's quite crazy for them. Same thing with Sui. I mean, they're all the charts, I guess, short term look crazy. Zebra head. You're welcome. I'm glad you appreciate it, and I appreciate your support. Juice Master, I bought Filecoin a while back. Can I move it from my small bag, or should I hold it to see what happens? I don't know. Me personally, I think there are better plays, but Filecoin is still in the deep in space. They're still one of the biggest decentralized storage plays. However, I just think like layer ones are more interesting, and other deep pins that encompasses more are more interesting. So it's up to you. European mining and tech stocks soar 5% on hopes of cooling U.S.-China tensions. Man, you know, if this gets... If we see... I think it's too soon. It's not going to be this week. But when we see like a trade agreement, okay, get announced, and it may be a horrible one, but as soon as headlines come out or a sense says, yeah, we come to agreement with China, as soon as that comes out, the market will explode. Like, that's the thing that everyone wants right now, right? So as soon as there's some kind of agreement and the tariffs are lifted, we will be in full-blown bull mode again. It seems like all the tariff stuff, no one really cares about any of the other countries other than China. It seems like this is all just focused on China. Although I know it's, you know, they're talking to other Asian countries and the EU and stuff, but it seems like they're all small potatoes compared to, you know, just really focusing on China right now. New Zealand, thank you. Lakers won yesterday. Makes you wonder why we had to go through all this tariff crap in the first place. You know, I still stand by what I said a few months ago. And it wasn't just me that said it. And I heard it from other people. So I kind of like came to this agreement too and put it together. I really feel like the ultimate agenda with all this was Well, yes, evening out trade was one of the main purposes, but the other purpose was to cause mass chaos and to bring down the dollar and bring down the 10-year yield. Okay, the purpose to that is because we need to borrow more money to pay off the debts that are due. We have $6 trillion due in the next 6 months, and more, like 4 trillion and more in another 6 months. We have trillions upon trillions of bonds that are maturing. We can't pay for those. We don't have money. So we have to issue more bonds to pay for those bonds. And we don't want to issue more bonds at a higher interest rate. So we want this interest rate as low as possible. And all that market chaos, was working. We went from 4.77 when the markets were like crazy, right? In January, when everything was soaring at 4.78. That you don't want to borrow money at 4.788. You don't want to borrow that. So all that chaos, the tariff chaos, brought us down to 3.99. And it was good. It was working. We would have kept going down all the way down here to like 3.6 or even sub threes. But it all kind of got disrupted when China and Japan, two of the largest bondholders, started selling off our bonds. And that was a powerful weapon. I don't think the US or Basant thought they would do or something, or maybe they overlooked it, or they didn't realize, maybe it's just not them two. Maybe UK started doing it too. UK is also one of the biggest bond holders. Whoever did it, or all of them did it. See, this is why maybe you didn't want to attack everyone at once. Maybe just China would have been fine, but because the US attacked everyone at once, we shot up from 4 back up to 4.5 in 1 week. That just disrupted things. That was the reason why Trump had to pause all the tariffs. That's why he said, okay, I'm pausing for 90 days. That was the exact reason why, right? So I argue that, if the main purpose was to really to get even with China, he should have just announced it with China, right? Should not have attacked everyone else. But again, maybe the main purpose was to just cause as much panic as possible, as much chaos as possible to drive this down. But then it backfired, and this is where we are now. The problem is, the problem is if we continue to rally and a trade agreement is made, everything goes back to normal, guess what's going to happen? This is going to start skyrocketing again. Powell is not going to cut the Fed fund rate anytime soon. And we go back to January levels. We would all love that because we're all invested, but Trump would hate that, and everyone else would hate it. So I don't know. The best way to think about it is we got 3 months of cheap crypto and cheap Bitcoin. So if you had opportunity to pick up your favorite crypto and Bitcoin at discounted prices, that's the best way to think about it. Ed, greetings from the Dutchman in Vietnam. Oh, wow. Hello. So should we hold? You should always hold. Do you think Near is worth buying? It's 250. I like Near, but I like others better. I like other L1s better. Where do you think Sui can get to cycle? A lot higher than where we are now. Sui was on an absolute tear before, like back in January. You look at them, they were like $5, man. So, so they could go much higher, much higher. This is going to be huge. I don't know when this is going to be established, but, and of course, Cantor Fitzgerald, that's the old company of Lutnick, who's the new Commerce Secretary. You know, so that's not a coincidence. And Lutnick himself holds hundreds of millions of dollars worth of Bitcoin. Yeah, said that himself. And SoftBank is a heavy investor into Ripple and XRP, by the way. So they're not a noob for crypto. But if these three guys, and Tether has endless money. Tether is one of the biggest Bitcoin holders in the world too. So if these three guys come together and form MicroStrategy 2.0, they will buy so much Bitcoin so fast, it'll make your head spin. It'll be more than what Saylor could buy. They will have endless money to buy. They don't even need to raise debt. They just have so much. They have so much already. Sure, you guys are right. You guys are saying like, oh, it'll be OTC. Yeah, but you realize OTC and spot market, it's coming from the same supply. There's only so much. It's not like OTC and spot, you know, there's like different buckets of 21 million Bitcoin. No, it's all coming from the same bucket of 21 million Bitcoin. So as long as the overall supply is dropping, that's what we want. I think it's almost like you could think about this. I think this is actually a really good analogy. I don't know, you take some prime real estate somewhere, okay? Say prime real estate of New York City. You have residential area and you have commercial area. You could argue that, hey, the companies buying commercial area, if they buy up a lot of commercial area, it doesn't affect the residential area. It doesn't affect the housing prices, right? And vice versa. You buy a lot of normal residential houses, it doesn't affect commercial prices, but both occupy land, and there's only so much land. Eventually, you run out of land, so it brings the price up for both, right? I don't know if that's a good analogy. I think that is. It's the same thing with OTC and spot. There's only so much out there, right? And eventually you're going to run out. So it doesn't matter if you're buying from spot or OTC. There's just that much. Once it's out, it's out. So the price will skyrocket. And obviously there's an effect. Otherwise, Bitcoin wouldn't be where it is now. If buying OTC never affected the price, we wouldn't be at 90-something thousand. We would still be at $10,000, or we would still be at $1,000. Liberty, I'm talking about prime real estate. I'm not talking about in the middle of nowhere, like New York City or any big city. Man, what the... Sui is just not stopping. It's heading straight for $3. Link was having a good day. Well, I mean, look at this climb until now. Now it's taking a breather, but that was a pretty crazy climb from 13 to 15.10. Taking a little breather. We need to cool off back to 87, 88. Yeah. If you look at, I mean, you could see obviously right here, the stochastic and RSI for the lower time frames, really, really, really overbought. Even a 4 hour, we were at like 85, right? We'll cool off sometime. But man, we're in a really good spot. The last few days have been absolutely terrific, especially for alts. Bitcoin has come up quite a lot, but it's really good to see a lot of the alts get back a little bit of the momentum that they had, back in December and January. Brian, yes, but it's not my favorite. No. And I have already said why before. Not anymore. It started out really good, but the founding team just really screwed it up afterwards. Chester. New member. Do I stake my soul? No. I do, some of it, not all of it. I don't like unlocking. If you unlock SOL, it takes like 3 days or something like that. I just don't. I don't like it. I like the fact that I get to move it around if I need to. I don't like how I have to wait. Even though it's really stupid, I really never move it or sell it. I don't know. It's just that security, I guess. Anyways. All right, guys. I'll let you guys go. We do have this beige book that's coming up later this afternoon. Maybe we gotta watch out a little bit for that. Basant is talking right now. That may be the reason why we're pulling back a little bit. People are a little bit worried about what he's saying. But seems like for the most part, they're backtracking on a lot of the tariff stuff, the retaliation stuff. But we'll see. We will see. All right, guys. Smash with a like. Subscribe to the channel. We'll see how today goes. If it all goes well, I'll have another live stream tonight. All right? Have a good one, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.